June 1970, Tacoma, Washington. 13-year-old Laura Lee Burbank was a frequent visitor to the local pet store. She made friends with one of the employees, 29-year-old David Harry Fisher.
Black ears?
Yeah.
Why?
Oh, I used to have one just like him.
Oh, what happened?
My mom was allergic to them, so we had to give them away.
Ah, that's too bad. I have some rabbits.
Really?
Yeah, I have a lot of animals. I have some dogs and a couple parrots, and I even have a couple monkeys.
Oh. Well, I have to go.
Okay. What's your name?
Laura.
Hi, I'm David.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Drop in again sometime.
David Fisher was the most dangerous friend Laura Burbank could ever have made.
David Harry Fisher is interested in exploiting very young, vulnerable females, and he will look for such targets. He'll case them, he'll spend a lot of his time thinking about how he can go about overpowering and controlling these girls and using them for sexual ends. He's very interested in finding someone with whom he can carry out his fantasies.
On June the 30th, 1970, Laura disappeared following a visit to the pet store. David Harry Fisher was the chief suspect in her disappearance. Warning our children not to talk to strangers is, of course, good advice, but it may not be enough. The horrifying fact is that more than 80% of all sex crimes committed against children are perpetrated by friends and relatives, people the children know. Such was the case with Laura Lee Burbank. She was lulled into a sense of false security by a man who claimed to share her love of animals.
These guys are a lot of fun.
David Harry Fisher told Laura he was an animal trainer, and Laura became entranced by the thought that she might be able to learn to train animals herself.
Hey, you know, Laura, tomorrow I have to start training these monkeys.
Oh, really?
I could really use some help.
Oh, David, I'd love to.
You would?
Uh-huh.
The only thing is, I can't train them here.
Oh.
Go someplace else.
Well, sure. Just it can't be too far away.
Oh, it'll be nearby.
Oh, okay.
Great.
Our initial investigation revealed that Laura Burbank had been in that pet store numerous times. David Fisher had made a point of befriending her. She was very interested in the animals. He took this as an open invitation to further his relationship with her.
On July 1st, 1970, Laura's parents gave her permission to go to the pet store alone because her sister was sick and her best friend was unavailable. Shortly after 2 o'clock that afternoon, one of Laura's neighbors, riding his daughter's horse, saw Laura in a parking lot near the pet store.
What are you doing down here today?
Well, see, my friend said he was going to teach me how to train monkeys.
Well, you're going to have a good time doing that today, won't you?
Yeah, I think so.
That'll be something new.
Yeah.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
15 minutes later, when Laura's neighbor rode by the parking lot again, she had already vanished.
When she wasn't home by 2, I started right in worrying. And every minute at a time from then on, I just had a bad feeling. You know, I was scared because she always did come home when she said she would.
I could not stand still. So I spent most of that afternoon and all night driving and looking. And same as the next day. I told people I worked for, I just knew something was wrong. And I just had to keep searching myself.
Mr. Fisher.
The police questioned 29-year-old David Fisher, who was at home with his 16-year-old wife. She was 5 months pregnant.
Mr. Fisher, we have witnesses that have told us she's been seen in the pet store talking to you.
A lot of kids talk to me at the store. That doesn't mean I know who they are, even know their names.
Fisher denied all knowledge of Laura Burbank. For 2 weeks, no other lead surfaced. Laura's family could do nothing but wait.
We don't know how to help you.
It was just horrible. It was just hideous. I can remember I could hardly sleep at night. And I'd wake up maybe 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the night and be staring out the window, and I know that she's out there someplace, but I don't know where.
The police got their first significant break in the Laura Burbank case when David Fisher's young wife came to the station.
Mrs. Fisher, what did you want to talk to us today?
It's about my husband, David. The other night,
Hi, honey.
he came in kind of late. He insisted that I wash this pair of jeans, and they were filthy.
Get to him now. You can finish your article later. Clean the pants.
David Fisher was an immaculate dresser. It was not common for him to have soiled clothing. He's very adamant about having her wash those pants immediately. She also told us that 2 weeks after the Burbank girl was missing, she was doing the laundry and found a pair of female underpants that she did not recognize. We believe that David Fisher either forgot those or purposely left them, probably as a souvenir of his crime. And those underpants were identified by Mr. and Mrs. Burbank as those that were worn by Laura Lee Burbank.
Nearly 3 months later, a group of children playing in the woods found Laura's body in a shallow grave, 30 miles from where her neighbor had last seen her. Although Laura's body was badly decomposed, authorities were able to determine that she had been sexually molested, then killed by a blow to the head. The police filed charges of first-degree murder against David Harry Fisher, but he disappeared. 8 days later, Fisher and his lawyer finally came into the Pierce County, Washington Sheriff's Department. Fisher said to the detectives, "You've got me now." And then he asked to remain free for the birth of his first child. His request was denied.
Hands on the wall. Step back.
Because the evidence was circumstantial, Fisher pled guilty to second-degree manslaughter and was sentenced to 20 years at the Washington State Penitentiary. For 3 years, David Harry Fisher was a model prisoner. His sentence was reduced, and he was assigned to the prison's minimum security honor farm. In 1974, the farm had no walls or security fences to keep the prisoners inside. In the late afternoon of September the 1st, 1974, David Harry Fisher simply walked away. No one noticed he was missing until the midnight prisoners' count. By that time, Fisher had several hours head start, and the authorities were unable to apprehend him. For 15 years, David Harry Fisher has been free to function in society, and authorities fear that his pathological criminal tendencies remain.
You don't have to go today. Yeah, Miss Murphy got me in so much trouble because I stole milk from the zoo. Bye. Bye.
David Fisher probably does not recognize his own problem. He probably is not aware that he has a lot of internal turmoil. He's been like this for a long time. Antisocial personalities generally start their deviant behavior, their criminal behavior, very early in life, and it gets worse as they get older.
David Fisher is capable of murder. He's capable of anything. He's proven that to us, and we can only theorize what he may have done since his escape in 1974.
Since Laura Lee Burbank died, 3 other Tacoma, Washington girls have been murdered under strikingly similar circumstances. In 1980, 13-year-old Carla Wright disappeared on her way to school in Tacoma's South End. 6 years later, 12-year-old Michelle Welch disappeared from the Puget Sound Park in Tacoma. 5 months after that, Jennifer Bastian, age 13, disappeared from Tacoma's Point Defiance Park. Eventually, the bodies of all 3 girls were found in wooded areas not far from the places where they disappeared. A $5,000 reward is being offered for information leading to the arrest of their killer or killers.
David Fisher may be an extremely frustrated person. He knows he's on the run, he knows he's wanted, and it's simply a matter of time. But he would be extremely volatile.
Laura Lee Burbank is the only proven victim of David Harry Fisher. She would have been 32 this year.
There's always inside of me, even to this day, there's that emptiness, and I always, once in a while, I'll catch myself thinking, what would Laura have been like now, you know? What would she have done with her life?
I just know in my heart, if he could be caught and either put away for life or destroyed, there may be someone saved. That's the way I look at it, because a young child's life is very important to me. Either whether it's my child or yours.
This photograph of David Harry Fisher, taken nearly 15 years ago, has been aged by an artist to show how he might look today. He is now nearly 48 years old. He has a tattoo of an eagle on his right arm and a tattoo of a black panther on his left arm. At the time of his escape in 1974, Fisher had thinning blonde hair, so he is probably now bald or nearly bald. He is 5 feet 9 inches tall. David Harry Fisher's been known to use the alias David Harry Snyder. If you have any information regarding Fisher's whereabouts, or if you know anything about the murders of Carla Wright, Jennifer Bastian, or Michelle Welch, please contact Detective Dick Knable of the Pierce County, Washington Sheriff's Department, or call our toll-free number, 1-800-876-5353.